He said something like survivor.
Yeah, I'd go back and check his dead shag.
There's sibling.
Someone else dead right now, so then somehow they're.
Tracy George.
Based on the fact she didn't live in Portsmouth. That was the technicality. She lived in South Road.
Um,
I don't know.
Find it. Didn't have the registration.
I thought you got involved in that. Did anyone?
Yeah, Joe and Kelly. Going on with your emails.
I'll be on right there. All right, I'm gonna,
They're gonna work for you? AJ?
I guess I had a question.
let me,
Parents don't couple. You know, that I know of, you know, if they could, they're legally next door neighbor, let the children.
He was sending the registration link yesterday. He was saying
They have to
never kicked him back. An email. Told him how to get in.
And that one's driving, the sibling, she's,
yeah,
he's the one that left.
I'm gonna try, unfortunately, this isn't linked to the.
Who heard of the parents, by the time they got back to the house was.
All right, we're gonna try and send something to you. Okay,
Yeah, that was.
since it's not working, but.
There's other folks are getting in.
Yeah, exactly.
All the males, children, you know, there's 5 of them up there. You know, like, that's where they were, there was a Clark cemetery. One big grave. It's cold.
And everybody was remote. So easy, right?
And he's done pretty well,
That's true. Yeah, so.
You should be able to go right to the agenda. Website.
Yes, we just tried it and it works if you go to the, are you going into the agenda or clicking on
It doesn't take you to webinar
it? Should
registration.
take you to webinar registration. No, you shouldn't get an email. It should just. We're Peter's finding it right now.
Peter, am I supposed to push it? Not yet. I'm trying to get AJ to be able to get in. And we're actually recording, so. Okay, so we don't need you. Post cannot register.
Well,
Why don't you, do you have a, why don't you?
it's good on that. I'll leave it out.
All right, someone technically.
Proficiency.
Yeah, that's great. Look at the stump of that big silver maple on open that. Really healthy. So there's no decay in that stump. I didn't skip on around and look at it. I don't think we- No. No.
Peter,
Yeah.
Yes.
while you're doing that, I just wanted to say hi to everyone and let everyone know that I'm on Zoom. This is Deb.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I can't be there. I'm in West Virginia attending to some family matters.
We're sorry you can't be here too.
Those 80-year-olds, it's just not going so well.
Try turning it off and,
Yeah.
powering down and repowering up.
Yeah, you said
Trim those out.
repower, power down, repower up. But you go in and definitely works for us. Alright. Alright. I'll try one of those.
So we have Deb and Joanna and Ryan, Gracie.
Yeah, Counselor Kelly.
Pleasant Street.
Mr. Chair, AJ will is trying to get on.
Okay.
Well,
I guess we can begin.
Yeah, we'll just have to proceed.
We got the other one out there.
Oh, I see.
It's open.
Oh, right, she's a chair.
Trees are.
Yeah, I can remember. Should go over.
Yeah, I can.
picture that.
You just. play that?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Counselor, Assistant Mayor.
We said?
Yep.
Okay, I will call the September 14th, 2022 meeting of the pre and week to order. We have the minutes of the July and August meetings attached. Recall, I was not sufficiently adept at attaching them, the July minutes to our August agenda, so we didn't take them up at that time, so we have both on. Do we have a motion to accept? Seconded by Mike, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Tree removal requests, first one is at bottom of McGee Drive next to 790 McGee Drive, on White Pine, an Eversource request. Scott is here.
Is there any chance before that we could actually start with Meredith?
Sure.
Because folks are here from
Oh,
the
good.
back there, so. If you all want to come up here, actually. It's that section just to speak on it, there's. Technically, those are the trees that are over 4 inches I marked, but it's really an overgrown road. The road used to extend down there. And they're all Norway maple, kind of early successional cherry. That's gonna get really made into an extended road, and Jeff and Randy will be building new house there at the end. So anyways, that's the nature of it. It's pretty cut and dry, but it's just kind of overgrown. It used to be a road, now it's going back to a road.
It's about 73. Maybe a little bit more. But we're gonna extend.
So that is city, it's a private road, a city road, I'm
It's a city road.
confused.
It's a city road.
Okay,
It's what's called a paper street. That it was accepted street, I believe. So it's just that it was never finished.
Used to be called Pine Street. It went all the way down on both sides, didn't it?
Yes, he did. Yeah, that's. So it was a existing road. Still an accepted street, it's just overgrown.
Yeah, the thought was makes sense to remove those for their products, so they can have a road to get to their house, and then also the in the future, next this coming spring, my recommendation is we have a lot of trees to plant. Be maybe on the park side, plant a few trees in the park. Shade trees for the future. I know that because we're planting 200 trees, double what we did this year, next year. we're looking for spots, finding spots for 200 trees is gonna be a challenge in itself, so that would be a good location to plant a few.
And you're planning to come back during that period?
You're looking to build a new home or you currently live out there?
Well, we do live at 77, it's a big lot, so we're subdividing. For ourselves, the existing house really isn't suited for us, because bedrooms are upstairs and bathrooms downstairs, and the stairs really aren't stairs, it's more like a ladder, it's an older house.
So that side lot is part of your property,
Yes,
that you subdivided?
we're in the process of doing that, so. Still in tag sessions, and then we have a planning board. It's not October. But we do have the subdivision, the zoning portion has been. Zoning board. Good, approved.
Do the
The frontage.
utilities, do the utilities, what's in there? Water and sewer?
They're gonna run down on the. I think it's called.
Michael, that's, just for
Meredith.
clarification, I mean, that's part of the subdivision process, and it's really not. It's an interesting question, but it's really not the purview of this committee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is being looked at through the TAC process, the technical advisory committee, and the planning board will make sure that any stipulated changes will be included.
Okay, any questions for Jeff or Angie?
So the house will be where the trees are and.
No, that'll be the road. That'll just be an extension of the road that's already there.
So it'll be to the house will be to the left.
Yep.
So on the other side of the road is where he's thinking maybe a few of those trees could go over here. That's where the road ends currently. And this is all like overgrown road.
So this is that existing.
Yes.
So there.
That's a nice lot. I did drive out there to look at it. It's a little confusing because you just come up to the.
Yeah.
Overgrowth, so.
Yeah, I think it'll be really, honestly, extending that road and having that volunteer forest removed and trees planted, I think will beautify the area, so.
Any
Makes
other
sense.
questions? Any discussion? Do we have a motion to recommend removal?
So moved.
You, second by Dennis. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Thank you for pushing it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Good, I think.
Good luck.
That says I.
Thank you.
Okay, now for bottom of McGee Drive next to 790 McGee Drive, a White Pine Eversource request. That's got here.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Scott.
I tried to keep my list short for this month's meeting. These trees aren't the normal imminent hazards that I normally bring to this committee. These are more cosmetic that come from my boss up at Eversource to see about these trees. The one on the bottom of McGee. We've had several issues down on McGee with some trees blowing over down there before, taking out the power lines. We've recently removed 3 or 4, maybe even 5 trees down in that far end of McGee now. There's this one pine tree that it's got quite a lean to it. Looks like it could possibly be uprooting up out of that lower wetland area. Like I said, it's more of a cosmetic issue. If it does come down, it's going to obviously take out the lines and land right into the National Guard building, parking lot area down there. So that's basically it for that tree.
Yeah, just second that, we have had multiple outages on McGee in the past couple of years. With really large Norway spruces, and we have had Norway spruces come here and get denied. Some of those we did remove because they had defects, and then those 2 at 890 McGee we kept. Did pruning, just mitigation of storm mitigation basically, but this pine I would say is red flag, just a heavy lean. That's where the prevailing wind comes across the pond, and it's
Pretty much stands alone now.
yeah, I just think we need to act in terms of preventing outages like we've had there. The outages we have had have not been, you know, a limb, it's been multiple poles down. So anyways, I would second removal of this tree, just given the location and the stature of the tree.
Any other question, Chuck?
What trees did you recently take down last week?
There were the 3 spruce further up on McGee at 790 or something like that.
Yeah, the ones we put, I think we approved those back in this spring at some point.
Yeah.
May, maybe.
And then there were another spruce tree further down to the far end of McGee. I think that's 800.
Any questions for Chuck? But, do we have a motion to recommend removal? Made by Dennis, seconded by Mike. Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Across from 41 Topaz, one willow, another Eversource request.
Yeah, this willow tree is, again, not an imminent threat that I normally bring to you folks. We've trimmed that circuit this spring within probably the last couple of months, and as my Eversource boss does his quality control check. Willow trees are growing very rapidly. It's growing back towards the lines again. Gonna have to retrim it to keep it from touching. I don't see it as, again, as an imminent threat. This is more of a cosmetic issue. It sits in the swamp. Willows suck water as fast as they can and grow faster than bittersweet.
Questions for Scott?
Mr. Chair, there's some folks online that are interested in speaking to this.
Certainly. Ryan?
Hey, how are you? I live on Ryan Crest, Edmund Ave. That tree is in the swamp behind me with, like you just said, they suck a lot of water with all the flooding that we've had in our neighborhood, and the beauty of that tree is just so beautiful and iconic. Yeah, we just see it as a real travesty to have it taken down. I think the city could do its job by pruning and, you know, let that tree do its work, helping us to mitigate the water, and you know, the sound that we get from that tree kind of helps with the freeway noise. We're just really against it being taken down.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, that's Tracy George.
Tracy?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Hi, I live directly at 41 Topaz Place. That tree is just very, very well loved, and also, like Ryan said, performs some very functional aspects as well. You know, it is a visual barrier to the traffic on 95 throughout the winter. It also probably helps with some noise mitigation. And also we're concerned about the retention pond in front of us, and, you know, not having that willow to take up the water could, you know, have an impact there. And so we would like to just have it continue to be pruned and to preserve it as long as possible. It's, you know, when you take those beautiful willows down, it's really, you know, it's just going to change our town the more they come down. I know they need to at a certain point, and they're tricky to manage, but we would really like to ask that this be considered and that we could keep it.
Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thanks.
Chuck?
I do have a question. If it were to be, it'd be a pretty significant prune, I would imagine, right, to get proper clearance.
No matter what we do on that one, we're really not going to get the greatest of clearance. That trunk is within, you know, 3 or so 4 feet. That line that runs right there. Again, it's not a high priority issue. You know, obviously, Eversource's theory is the more we get rid of, the less they have to maintain. It's a maintainable tree without any question.
Yeah.
I concur with what the 2 residents said. If there are no known defects to that tree, and I don't think there are, you know, where does the process stop? Start saying, well, if this one falls, we're gonna take a line down. I didn't think of that. I strongly favor not removing the tree.
So I have a motion to not remove, seconded by Michael. Any discussion?
So, as everybody knows, willows do tend to shed limbs. So it's not like it's an oak tree or something like that. That is less likely to drop a limb. I don't have an issue with leaving it, especially because of the other functions it provides relative to, pulling water out of the ground. It is a wet area, and I think I defer to the arborist whether it'd be beneficial to add additional willows out in that area. Just to, continue the function of trying to keep it maintained. Obviously, if it's spring flooding and things like that, it doesn't do a lot of good if the trees aren't active. Transpiration going on, but yeah, I understand that I'm not really keen on willow trees being near anything that can get damaged, whether it's on the street or whether it's in people's backyards. Or I've seen enough limbs drop onto sheds and other stuff.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to prune it and leave it for now. But long term, there is not a worse species to be near single phase or triple phase tower than a willow.
Yeah, it's just another distribution line that also runs further into that.
So I think for now, leave it and continue the pruning makes sense, but long term. It is somewhat kicking the can down the road, but it's giving folks some benefits and some aesthetic to the neighborhood, so I understand. It's just unfortunately the wrong species for the site. But anyway.
So we have a motion to not recommend removal. I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll oppose it for
David voted, Deb and Joanna.
Aye.
Thank you. Ryan and Tracy, thank you. Holiday Drive next to the skate park.
Yep, there's a locust tree there again, brought to me from my boss at Eversource. It's a cosmetic issue. The tree is very maintainable, to be trimmed, kept out of minimum approach distance from that wire. Its only issue is it does just lean out over the top of the wires. If and when that tree ever does go, it's got no choice but to take that tree face out.
Doc, any thoughts on black locust?
If it's maintainable, it's maintainable, but it's another early successional species, like they don't stick around forever. But I think this could be, like Scott said, it could go either way. I'm gonna defer to you as the.
And Eversource, is all right with leaving trees. We've said in many meetings before, we're not trying to deforest Portsmouth or in its surrounding areas. These are just some of the concerns that you handed to me to see what you can do.
Any questions from anybody on the committee? I want to make a motion to not recommend removal.
I like that motion. There are several other trees there.
I'll second.
Same species, I believe.
So my motion is to not recommend removal this time. It's made by Michael Griffin and seconded by Dennis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Deb and Joanna?
Aye.
Thank you. 367 Richards Avenue.
So this is a tree we pruned over the years multiple times, and we pruned it this spring. And upon closer inspection this summer, realized there's massive amounts of decay hidden under the bark. And it's not a matter of when if it's going to fail, it is going to fail. So yeah, just irreversible decay, I would say.
We have a motion to recommend removal. I'll make that. And second, motion second, Mike, any discussion?
It's an ugly looking tree, and if you could put something, back Kentucky coffee up the street.
Yeah, that's actually some of the Kentucky coffees have really taken off, but we will obviously be replanting that in spring. So It's already on the list, 367.
He's using the royal we in that sense.
The Royal Way,
All in favor of the recommendation for approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to the last item, Heritage Avenue. Heritage Avenue.
Thank you very much. My name is Joe Coronati. I'm with Jones and Beach Engineers, representing the property owner at 225 Heritage Ave. That's one of the industrial buildings on Heritage. And as you're well aware, there's center islands that are landscaped since the beginning of the road, when that road was built. This particular island, and I have plans with me if anybody wants to look at plans. I think they were emailed into, I have copies. The center island restricts truck traffic from entering and leaving their northern driveway.
I see.
So the island is I think when these sites were originally developed, eventually I believe that truck traffic was allowed on Banfield Road. But now all this truck traffic has to exit out towards Route 1, and they no longer use Banfield for any of their large trucks. And so the northern entrance, the trucks can't make a right turn out without driving into the island, and they can't make a left turn in to that access point. So they have to basically try to turn around within the site, which the larger trucks just cannot do. We did provide a cover page on that that I just handed out in the existing conditions. The next page shows what we'd be proposing to cut back of the island. And then the page after this one shows the truck turning templates, how they function as they exit or enter that northern entrance. So I think
Joe,
it's,
can you describe for folks, you have different color lines and they designate for the turning templates, they designate the rear wheels and the front wheels as the truck's coming through?
yes, and the overhang of the truck.
The
So
overhang of the truck.
the purple line is the overhang, like the bumpers, and the green or the green lines are the more of the tires. And then the dark line with the arrow is the center line. So to stay within the pavement as they take a right exiting the site, they swing, they need to swing out towards that center island, and taking a left in. They also have a challenge with that. The property owner is also knowing that this is a sensitive area with these center islands and the green scape that was put in the roadway is knows the sensitivity of it. He's willing to donate $5,000 towards to this group for whatever purpose in tree planting that you want to do in the future to offset the loss of these 4 trees. And they will build they will end up putting the curbing back in. And they remove the island, they'll remove the curbing, they'll put back the section that kind of finishes the end of the island off. We'll be keeping that area. We would stripe it, I guess, we can stripe it just so that it's allowed to be used for turning, but not meant to be used for travel.
Is this the only building that's impacted by that?
It's, well, I'm not 100% sure. It's the only building that hired to look that we looked at. I know there's maybe 2 or 3 other islands. I'm not familiar enough with their travel needs to.
I was contacted by the owner's representative. And I wasn't familiar with the layout at the time. He said they were going to make some type of donation to compensate for this. I checked with Chuck and he said that figure $1,000 on a per tree on planting. By the time you buy it and have it installed. And I mentioned, that committee's concerned about removing any trees and that when this tree is removed, that we'd like to see compensation made when that's possible. So that's the recommendation of $5,000.
With the traffic survey done? The volume of trucks.
Not, no, not the volume of trucks, but it is, I don't know the exact number of how many go in and out, but they do have a kind of a large number of truck parked out back currently. And they use the loading dock act.
From what I understand, they changed the use there and that the new use generates.
Yeah, you can't put your no trucks on Banfield Road, so you have no option but then.
Right, it's challenging. I understand that's probably more important. I mean, not more important, that's a bigger concern.
So I think the note too, this is the only industrial park in Portsmouth itself. We have fees, which is not ours really, but we have an agreement. This area is zone industrial. It's intended for this type of activity. So, I'm hesitant. I don't like using streetscape trees, especially this is kind of a unique application in the city. But I think for the ability for the business to function well, this is a reasonable approach. So I would move to remove those trees and allow this to happen.
Second.
Will attach the offer for the $5,000 contribution.
Yeah, that's stipulated on that offer.
Any question for Joe? Any further discussion? A motion to recommend written. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And sorry, Debbie, Joanna, you probably couldn't see the plans quite
Lost
as well.
HAs.
Thank you very much.
Okay, third item on our agenda, Terrence Parker from Terra Firma Land Architects, concerning 88 Maplewood Avenue. Yes, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Terrence Parker, landscape architect. This is a new proposal, on the corner of Maplewood and Deer, as you go down to the Pondry Garage. So that's a brand new building right where the Wells Fargo corner was. You know why there's railroad tracks that back up to the north end of this. So at the top of the sheet, there's a railroad tracks, railroad crossing. And at the bottom end of the sheet is the Deer Street Maplewood intersection. So this is the proposal. We're not going to talk about the building, obviously, but there's a proposal to this is the landscape plan. So there's 6 street trees along the bottom of on Deer Street along the bottom of the plan. Along Maplewood, there's 3 street trees, and there's a series of street trees that are in a green strip that's in the back of the building. So at the last TAC review, Nick Cracknell wanted more human amenities on that back. That's considered a park and park. So the trees will remain maybe more or less, but the park and park will have some new amenities to it. I'm not sure what those are. There's a handicap access ramp, so so you can get from the Maplewood up into the elevated area because there's some water elevation, so there's a drainage cistern there on the left of the top of the sheet, there, that white block is a drainage cistern, so there'll be a handicap ramp that goes down on the left side of the sheet into that parking lot, which is not shown on this plan. So there's some revisions that are gonna happen on the back of the building, but basically it's gonna be a green strip with street trees in there. So the trees, innovative part of this plan is the grate system. You can see on page 2 there that it's a continuous tree grate, because I think tree health depends on soil volume. And the traditional tree well, you know, this is 5 feet by 5 feet square. This is 50 feet across, 4 feet wide. It's contiguous tree grate, and it has structural soil in there. The grade will be supported intermittently by cross beams. So there's 3 of those 50-foot stretches of tree grade. So you walk right over it. There's no interruptions to snowplow, and there'll be some vertical tree guards on the, to protect the trunk of the tree. So the sidewalks are plenty wide there. Let's see, I think they're 12 feet wide. So the passing part is at least 6 feet. So the bottom trees, so if you look at the pictures I gave you, they're all columnar trees because the space is tight. So some of my favorite columnar trees are the Carpinus, which I used to call musclewood. The name has changed a little bit to hornbeam. So those, the 6 at the bottom on Deer Street would be the hornbeam, the Carpinus. The 3 on Maplewood would be maples, the columnar Acer maple, Acer rubrum bulbul maple. And there's pictures of each one of these trees. And they all have, those 2 trees have light seeds, so they won't, not like the oak that I'm proposing in the back that has the acorn, but that's on the railroad side, so it's less of an issue with sidewalk stuff. Acorns, it's dropping off the edge of the drive there, but so all the trees will provide wildlife habitat and food resource. So the oaks, like I said, there's going to be a string of oaks there because they're columnar and it's a tight space. So I'm not sure because that pocket park has to be revised a little bit to satisfy some of the TAC requirements for more.
You think there's adequate sun exposure on that northern side?
Well, actually, it gets pretty good western light. Yes, because you look at the north arrow, so the summer sun sets in the northwest. So you're looking at my page. It's actually the summer sun is setting over here. So, yeah, I think there'll be adequate light for the folks there.
And is that the railroad line that's right behind the pocket park?
That's correct. There'll be a fence that separates the 2.
What is the sidewalk concept? Does it cut through any part of this property?
You say sidewalk.
Well, isn't there the walk-through sidewalk that is intended to go down?
Or the multi-use pad?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the tracks, that access road to the Granite State Mineral Pile. It's intended to go along that edge. So this would be, be on the other side of the tracks.
Any other questions for Terrence? And the committee really appreciates when you meet with fine people.
Yes.
Ongoing factor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And just-
I've never used it.
Is it just an FYI or do you need approval?
They need approval. It's part of our review process. So if I could, Terrence, do you know if ownership and responsibility of maintenance is gonna be on the property owner for these grates? I look at these grates and I see maintenance in the future. They look great right now, but no pun intended, but.
Well, I think that's probably a condition that the town could put on the plan, but I mean, it's a city sidewalk.
Right, but there's oftentimes stipulations that, if somebody does something, it's developer's responsibility to maintain.
That's correct, yeah. So I expect that if you want that to be a stipulation, then make it a stipulation. But there hasn't been discussion about that yet. But I think, increasing the soil allowance for every city tree extends the life of that tree, and that's less maintenance to work around.
Sure, and there's ways to do that without doing continuous steel grades.
Yeah,
You
but
can porous pavement, you can do,
Is this sidewalk getting completely redone? Is that?
Yes.
We've done, it'll be redone as part of the project. And there are some utilities that come across that, there may be some conflicts relative to the tree.
Yeah, that's Ambit Engineering's working on that, so I would work with John Shagnon to make sure that those conflicts were avoided.
Yeah.
Greats.
So other than the grades, is it just pits, or are they doing silver cells, or how's that all?
No civil cells, yeah. It's just a continuous soil volume under the grate so the grates are supported laterally every few feet.
The other question I have is, you showed me a tree right on top of our wayfinding sign. Maybe,
The wayfinding sign is being moved forward of that, it's just that this is a preliminary plan, that kind of,
and that's an entrance only for that, so that if you're not gonna have vehicles coming out of that.
well, I think that's a matter that is being reviewed by TAC. It's
Okay.
not a,
But you have a plan to resolve the
That's-
tree on top of the sign.
we're gonna move that sign to the front of the grade, so it has
Okay.
complete, clear and unobstructed view of it.
Fair enough.
And for orientation purposes, Deer and Maplewood, so is this what was originally a DSA property?
Yes,
It is, okay, that corner,
lot 5.
okay, thank you.
Other questions? I appreciate the thoroughness of the proposal, and I like the idea of the continuous grade. My concerns aren't necessarily the same as Peter's, but I don't do.
Well, Peter's have legitimate concerns, and I will endeavor to make sure it's constructed correctly. But it's nice to push innovations that have happened in other cities forward. It's, I don't know that there's another one similar use of a grade like this in this city.
I don't have any experience with it, so I can't speak.
So, it's just applying the similar technology to an extended area, so.
I appreciate that. My experience with grades is they're great for the first 10 years, then they heave and it catches, the sidewalk plow catches it, breaks it, that is maintenance issue.
Yeah, I believe there's gonna be some concrete haunches in there to support the.
Yeah, I saw the detail.
So we're actually in direct correspondence with the manufacturer. So, that's part of making innovation successful is to do it right the first time.
Do you, is the thought with the species, the 3 species for the 3 clusters per kilometer? Does that make sense? So species.
Well,
Is that your thought, or?
I like the architectural quality of trees, so I don't really like mixing trees in like a small volume like that. I mean, that's great. I think mixing trees in a screen barrier, for behind a residence is fine. Replicating nature, but in a cityscape, I like the architectural quality of similar trees, so they're on different sides of the building, so that's why I changed the tree selection, so there'd be, more diversity, but it's not seen as a kind of a mix of. A mix of plants.
So, but each cluster is a different species?
Yeah, so it's 3 maples, 6 carpinus, and 8 oaks in the back. Yes, so that'll be plus or minus 8 oaks, depending on how the pocket park is proposed.
What would be the mature height of those trees?
I think they all have similar profiles, and they're 40 feet if grown in nature. Grown in a even limited soil, it's always less, but they're 35 to 50 feet. And they're 10 to, the oaks are particularly narrow, they're 10 to 15, and similar with the maples are 10 to 15, but the carpinus could be a little wider, 20. But it's still plenty on the street, that's a pretty narrow tree. That's mature sizes.
Any other questions for us? We have a motion to recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Peter, seconded by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anna, thank you.
Aye. Aye, and I appreciate the use of oak.
What was it? What was that again, Jeff?
I appreciate the use of oak, the choice of oak trees.
Oh, good.
I love oak trees.
But they're all beauties.
Great.
Good.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, update from city arborist Chuck Baxter.
Well, this is, the last, meeting for me and working with you all, so that's kind of the big update. I appreciate everything that you've done over the years, so. Feel very supported and, yeah, it's been a great time here, so I really do appreciate it. I've been here since I was, 22. 22. Moving on, but we were in good hands, so we have excellent staff. And a bright future. I think that I really do think, I'm not just saying this, but I think that the forestry program will be brought to another level. With the next phase, I really do. So we've done the groundwork and a ton of cutting edge work. I think that it will go to places that I would not bring it as quickly. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Is there a replacement?
There's people are applying, but
Position's been posted.
position-
We have an internal candidate. So hopefully that'll work out.
Have the 400 trees been ordered?
200 have been ordered, which are going to be the ones that will be like the tree drive. And we're planning on having that at the Urban Forestry Center where residents can come get a tree on a weekend day. And then the other 200 will be ordered from Schichtel's once the availability list comes out. It's usually November-ish. So city's planting 200 in-house, and then 200 will be planted with residents, and there'll be kind of an educational program. My recommendation was to have some sort of brochure that goes with each tree that says this is how you properly plant the tree and maintain it. So those trees actually have a good chance of surviving and being shade trees for the community.
Is it gonna be a watery?
I don't know.
For the residents, first come, first serve. We can have it set up so you sign up.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
I guess that's related to the tree planting for the 400th. Anything specific? in addition?
We're good to go. AJ, Peter, and myself put together those 200, which we talked about last time, that will be the first come, first serve, and the other 200 will be just city trees. It's gonna be a big effort from the city forestry crew, but it's totally attainable.
So right now, we're looking at the first or second weekend of April. We had talked about Earth Day, but there was conflicts. AJ had conflicts on that weekend. So we're working with the 400th committee to kind of set that time up, and then obviously the committee probably participate in some manner or another. But AJ and his crew are hosting the event. We'll inform you as we move forward relative to participation and what types of activities. We're envisioning, we have our planting video online. We're envisioning doing some sort of demonstration in terms of how to plant, provide them some compost material, give them a demonstration of how to do it properly. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a really good event.
They're gonna be bare root or?
They're containerized trees. They're on these smaller grow bags, so there is a little bit of a root ball type in there. Easy to
Not
plant.
burlapped.
Yeah, not burlap with cage. It's like a little grow bag type.
Chuck, can you share what you've chosen for the 5 different trees that the city's going to plant?
For the 5 species that we ordered, it's actually the opposite. So there's, I believe, 5 species that will be given out. The city will plant more like 12 or 13 species. So those 5 would be, I believe we settled on, this is where AJ needs to be here. Because AJ actually put in the order, but we did a oak. I believe we did swamp white oak because of how successful they are in urban environments. We did a red maple. I believe we did a bald cypress.
Is there cherry in there?
The 2 other, I can get that information from AJ because there was some last minute decisions that he needed to make. We came up with a list and I think that list changed on the phone when he placed the order, but we have some really good species. So the other two species are non-shade trees. They're, you know, smaller trees if they're going to be used tighter areas. I can't recall. It's probably some form of a flowering cherry or a flowering crabapple or some sort of ornamental. So, but as for shade trees, we did an oak, a maple. I believe we did a deciduous conifer like the bald cypress.
We'll make sure AJ is able to report back.
That'd be great. Just love to see that. Thank you.
Okay, is there any old business?
I just have one more thing to say. Thank you very much for everything that you've done. Thanks. Good luck. Definitely.
Thank you.
Any old business?
If I can just back that up on behalf of myself and Bob Burner from Eversource. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
You've been a great asset to our success here in What's
Thanks. Appreciate it. I appreciate it, Scott.
Thanks.
Well, under new business, so he does have one piece of new business and that to recognize your
Oh, wow.
contribution to the city and Starburst.
Wow. Thanks. Don't know what it is, but do I look at it now?
Yes.
Oh, man. Oh, I remember that. That's gonna have to get read later. Thank you all. Oh, boy. Steve. All my complaints.
That's what we love about you, Chuck. You're so enthusiastic.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much. Look at that. That is beautiful.
Yeah. Hold it up so the camera can see it well. There you go.
Holy cow. Custom piece. Thank you so much. That really means a lot.
Pat is the one that came up with the selection of that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That means a lot, you all. Seriously, that is beautiful. It really is.
Everybody speak for themselves, but everyone on this committee is just in awe of what you've done for us every year.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't want to get all emotional. We're not going down that road. Thank you so much. Seriously, it means a lot, and I will be back. You'll see me around. I'm sure. I'd like to come down for the tree drive in the spring and make everybody nervous. So anyways, thank you. Seriously, this community is wonderful, and the committee, and yeah, we've done a lot. It's more than just a job.
We recognize this, we're the beneficiary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will get a little emotional. You know, it's, you know, Chuck came to us when he was 22. And my first interaction with him, he was sitting down. And I walked up to him and I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? And then he stood up. I was looking at his belt buckle. And I was like, okay, well, we'll save on the lifts and stuff. He can get all the high limbs. But over the years, he's just shown himself to be mature beyond his years and an incredible person to work with. And it really it makes my job easier. I don't have to worry about staff. I can throw Chuck into any situation, and not be like wondering, oh my God, it's gonna be fallout from this interaction. It was always just good stuff. And so I really have to, you're gonna be missed, obviously, but you created a great foundation for others to follow. And Corin, also, I need to acknowledge Corin and the work that he did leading up to Chuck. It's been a very good succession working through, and we're hoping that our internal candidate works out. And that, that it will be, as Chuck says, continue growth. So thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you all very much.
What will be the nature of the public hearing scheduled for next Wednesday?
What will be the nature of, it's not a public hearing. It's a public informational meeting. The nature will be just like any of our regular meetings. We'll talk about what the original design intent was. And that will clearly point out the trees that would be slated to be removed. So that was I think the one aspect of the last time. There is, I know, our resident did indicate that he was doing a petition to support the movement or the installation of the sidewalks. And that we will see the turnout. Tonight's Maple Haven meeting, there's no trees being identified to be removed at that meeting. So if you were intending to attend that meeting, there's no need to, unless you're just interested.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. Thank you, Joanne, and Deb.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Scott. We'll catch you up.